I have been sitting here for hours, staring at a screen that is burning my eyes, trying to make sense of a number that simply shouldn't exist. Usually when I dive into on-chain data late at night, I am looking for the small things. I am looking for a whale moving a few million tokens to a new wallet, or maybe a slight uptick in volume on a Korean exchange. You know, the boring, everyday hum of the crypto market. It is usually just noise. It is just the heartbeat of a market that never sleeps. But what I found last night didn't just keep me awake. It made me stand up and walk around the room. It made me question if the market actually understands what is happening right underneath our feet. I saw something that didn't look right. It looked like a glitch. It looked like an error code in the matrix of the blockchain. I refreshed the page. I reloaded the data. I actually went to a second source and then a third source, just to make sure I wasn't losing my mind or misreading a decimal point. But the number stayed the same. It stared back at me, completely unconcerned with how impossible it seemed. 1 billion XRP gone. In just 3 weeks, 1 billion tokens have been ripped out of exchange wallets. And when you zoom out, the picture gets even scarier. We aren't just talking about a little fluctuation. We aren't talking about a standard quarterly rebalancing where an exchange moves funds from a hot wallet to a cold wallet. We are looking at a drain that is moving faster than the price can even account for. The narrative we have been telling ourselves for years, that one day the supply will dry up, might not be a story anymore. It looks like it is happening right now, in real time, on December 14th, 2025, and almost nobody is paying attention to the plumbing. Today, I want to take you on a deep dive. I want to walk you through exactly what I found during this investigation. I want to show you why the sell-side liquidity is thinner than it has ever been in the history of this asset. We need to talk about where those tokens went, who took them, and what happens when the next person walks up to the counter to buy XRP, and the exchange has to look them in the eye and say, "We don't have any left." This is a personal investigation into the XRP supply shock, and frankly, the results are startling. Let's start with the raw numbers, because numbers don't lie. People lie, influencers lie, the news media lies, but the blockchain ledger, that is immutable. That is the one source of truth we have in this industry. I was looking at Glassnode data specifically regarding exchange balances. Now, for those who are new to on-chain analysis, let me explain why this specific metric is the holy grail of market sentiment. Exchanges are the marketplaces of the world. They are the grocery stores of crypto. When you want to sell your XRP, where do you put it? You put it on an exchange. You deposit it into your Binance account, or your Coinbase account, or your Kraken account. You leave it there because you want it to be ready. You want to be able to hit that sell button the moment the price hits your target. Therefore, high exchange balances usually mean high sell pressure. It means the market is fearful, or it means the market is ready to take profits. It is a giant pile of inventory sitting in the window, waiting for a buyer. But when balances go down, when the inventory leaves the store, that is the strongest accumulation signal that exists in financial markets. That means people are buying, and more importantly, they are taking custody. They are moving it to cold storage. They are saying, "I am not selling this at current prices. In fact, I am not selling this anytime soon. I am taking this home." So I looked at the balances from early November, just a little over a month ago. The number was sitting comfortably around 3.5 billion XRP across the major exchanges monitored by Glassnode. That is a lot of liquidity. That is a lot of tokens available for you, me, and the day traders to swap back and forth. It felt stable. It felt like there was plenty of grease in the gears to keep the machine running. But then I looked at the number for today, December 14th. The reserves have plummeted to near 1.5 billion. I want you to really listen to that. 3.5 billion down to 1.5 billion. Do the math with me. That is a depletion of 2 billion tokens in a matter of weeks. And the most aggressive part of that move, a clean 1 billion tokens, happened in the last 21 days. I want you to pause and visualize that. Imagine a massive warehouse. This warehouse is the global supply of XRP available for sale. For years, the warehouse has been full. Trucks come in, trucks go out, but the pile stays roughly the same size. The manager of the warehouse never worries about running out of stock. Then, in 3 weeks, half the warehouse is emptied. The trucks are only leaving. Nothing is coming back in. The shelves are starting to look bare. The manager is looking at the back of the room, and he is seeing the floor for the first time in years. If you were standing outside that warehouse, wouldn't you ask, who is buying all the inventory? That is exactly what we are seeing here. Whales, massive entities with deep pockets, are preferring self-custody. They are not leaving their assets on the exchanges to yield a tiny percentage. They are pulling them off. Why do you pull assets off an exchange? There is really only one reason. You have no intention of selling. You are locking the vault door. You are burying the treasure chest. This drop in reserves coincides with something else. It coincides with the launch and the aggressive scaling of the US XRP spot ETFs. We knew the ETFs were coming. We talked about them for months. We speculated on the approval dates. We argued about the fees. But seeing the on-chain impact is different than just speculating about it. Seeing the actual flow of funds is sobering. It seems the ETF custodians and the institutions behind them are gobbling up the float. They are vacuuming up the loose coins that have been sitting on the order books for years. Now, looking at charts like this can be intimidating if you don't know what you are looking for. I spent years confused by candles and volume bars before I actually sat down and learned how this stuff works. I remember looking at screens just like this and feeling completely lost, knowing there was money to be made but not knowing how to read the map. That is why I created Cheeky School. I realized that most people lose money in crypto not because the market is rigged, but because they are playing a game without knowing the rules. If you are tired of relying on other people to tell you what the market is doing, you need to learn how to read the language of the market yourself. At Cheeky School, we don't just give you signals. We don't just say buy here or sell here. We teach you the strategy. We teach you how to fish. We teach you how to spot a divergence like this one before it hits the news sites. We teach you how to look at the order book and see the wall of buying pressure before the price even moves. We cover everything from technical analysis to understanding on-chain metrics like the one I'm discussing today. And look, I know education is an investment, which is why I've got a massive discount running right now. You can use code YT50OFF to get 50% off your subscription. Stop guessing, stop gambling, start knowing. Check out cheekyschool.com and join the students who are actually understanding these moves rather than just reacting to them when it is too late. Okay, let's get back to the mystery of the missing billion. There is a commentator named Mike who pointed out something fascinating about this data. He called it insane. And he is not wrong. Insane is probably the only word that fits. He highlighted that this is the first time the cryptocurrency's exchange reserve balance has dropped well below the price structure. Let me explain what that means, because it is the most critical part of this video. This is the aha moment. Usually price and exchange reserves have a correlation. They dance together. If the price goes up, reserves might go up as people deposit to take profits. If the price crashes, reserves might go down as people panic sell or capitulate. They tend to move in a way that makes sense. But if you look at the 1-year chart, XRP's price has largely trended above the reserve trend line. The price was holding steady or climbing, while the reserves were just floating along horizontally. However, these recent withdrawals have created a crossover. The amount of XRP available has crashed below the price trend. This is what we call a divergence. Price is here, supply is way down here. In economics, strictly speaking, when supply drops drastically and demand stays the same, or in our case, increases, what has to happen to price? It has to adjust. It has to go up to find the new equilibrium. It is not magic. It is not hope. It is mechanics. We are seeing severe supply absorption. This is the technical term for whales are eating everything in sight. And historically, in crypto, severe supply absorption usually precedes a price rally. It makes sense, right? If there are fewer apples at the market, but just as many people want apple pie, the price of apples goes up. You don't need a degree in finance to understand that. But here is the kicker. It isn't just about the retail exchanges. It isn't just about what is happening on the public apps we use. Mike noted that this supply shock is likely going to dry up the OTC desks and dark pools first. For those who don't know, OTC stands for over-the-counter. This is the whale's playground. When a massive institution, let's say a hedge fund or a bank, wants to buy $50 million worth of XRP, they don't go to an app and click buy. If they did that, they would spike the price instantly. They would create a massive green candle, and by the time their order filled, they would be paying 10% or 20% more than they wanted to. It is called slippage. And institutions hate slippage. Instead, they call an OTC desk. The desk acts as a broker. The desk says, okay, you want $50 million worth, let me find a seller. The desk finds a seller, negotiates a price, and they do the deal privately. It doesn't hit the public order book immediately, it happens in the shadows. But here is the problem OTC desks are facing right now. OTC desks need inventory. They need access to coins to sell to these institutions. If the exchanges are draining and the whales are self-custodying, where do the OTC desks get their XRP? They have to go to the open market. They have to start buying from the public order books. They have to start competing with you and me. And that is when things get explosive. That is when you see those God candles that rip upwards by 20% or 30% in a single hour, because there is simply no liquidity left to dampen the blow. When the OTC desk has to buy from the public market, they become the market buyer, and they force the price up until they find a seller willing to part with their coins. Speaking of exchanges, this whole situation brings up a very practical question. If the supply is drying up and you still want to stack, where do you actually go? I have spent a lot of time testing different platforms because, let's be honest, some of them are terrible. Some have high fees, some have zero customer support, and some just feel unsafe. I have had accounts frozen. I have had deposits stuck for days. I know the pain. I have narrowed it down to a few crypto exchanges that I personally use and trust. These are platforms where I have actually gone through the KYC process, tested the deposit and withdrawal speeds, and checked their liquidity depth. If you are looking to accumulate before this supply shock really kicks in, you need a reliable bridge. You need an exchange that isn't going to crash when the traffic spikes. I have put my affiliate links to these specific exchanges in the description below. Using them supports the channel, but more importantly, it gets you onto a platform that I have vetted personally. Go check them out, sign up, and make sure your account is ready. You don't want to be doing KYC verification, taking selfies with your passport, when the candle is already green and the price is moving without you. Now, I need to pause here for a second, because whenever we talk about supply shocks and price rallies, people get excited. They start seeing Lamborghinis in their heads. They start planning their retirement. So, I need to be very clear with you. I need to bring us back to earth for a moment. This might shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all the money you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. After all, your investments are entirely your responsibility, and you should know that nothing is ever guaranteed when it comes to investing. Neither I, this channel, nor YouTube are liable for any losses. And this video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Okay, We are clear? Good. Let's dig deeper into the why behind this move. Why is this happening now? Why December 2025? We mentioned the ETFs. Data from So Value shows that these funds have recorded a cumulative net inflow of nearly $1 billion. They are the fastest US products to cross $1 billion in assets under management, right behind Ethereum and Bitcoin. That is a lot of buying pressure. That is Wall Street putting its stamp of approval on the asset. But there is another factor that almost nobody is talking about, the burn and the utility. Every time a transaction happens on the XRP ledger, a tiny amount of XRP is burned. It is destroyed. It is gone forever. It is sent to a burn address that no one has the keys to. Now, usually, this is a small amount. It is fractions of a penny. It is designed to prevent spam on the network. It is deflationary, but it is a slow burn. It is like a dripping tap. However, as utility ramps up, as we see more institutional flows, more cross-border settlements using ODL, and more activity on the ledger, the burn rate increases. The tap turns into a stream. So you have a triple threat attacking the supply side. Threat number one, the ETFs are locking up coins in cold storage, likely for years. These are not day traders. These are pension funds. These are long-term horizons. Threat number two, the whales are withdrawing coins for long-term holding. They are seeing the same data we are, and they are front-running the squeeze. Threat number three, the network itself is burning coins with every single transaction. The more the network is used, the scarcer the asset becomes. And on the other side, you have the exchanges, sitting there with their balances dropping to multi-year lows. Chad Stein-Graeber, a game designer and well-known community analyst, pointed out that this exchange reserve drop is breaking the historical correlation. He believes this trend shows severe supply absorption, and I tend to agree with him. The math supports it, the chart supports it, but here is the danger. Here is the trap that retail investors fall into every single cycle. When you see data like this, the temptation is to leave your crypto on the exchange so you can sell the top quickly. You think, I'll just keep it there, wait for the pump, and hit sell. You think you are being smart. You think you are being agile. That is a dangerous game. That is how people get wrecked. If these exchanges are running low on liquidity, what happens during a massive volatility event? What happens when everyone tries to rush through the door at the same time? We have seen it before. Withdrawals get paused, systems go down. You get that spinning wheel of death. You get the maintenance mode email. If you don't hold the keys, you don't own the coins. It is the oldest saying in crypto, but it is the truest. It is the golden rule. This is why I talk about Ledger so much. If the whales are moving 1 billion XRP off exchanges in 3 weeks, they aren't putting it under their mattress. They aren't writing the keys on a sticky note. They are putting it into cold storage. They are securing it with hardware. If the smart money is securing their assets, why aren't you? A Ledger hardware wallet is the industry standard for safety. It keeps your private keys offline. It keeps them air-gapped from the internet. It means that even if the exchange goes insolvent or gets hacked, or just decides to lock your account because of suspicious activity, your coins are safe in your pocket. I have a link to the official Ledger store in the description. Please do not buy these from Amazon or eBay where they could be tampered with. Do not take the risk of saving $20 only to lose your entire portfolio. Buy directly from the manufacturer. With the supply shock coming, the last thing you want is to be locked out of your own fortune because an exchange server crashed. Get a ledger, move your coins, and sleep better at night. So we have the data, we have the theory, but what does the future look like? What happens next week? What happens next month? Mike, the analyst who flagged this initially, painted a scenario where pent-up demand triggers a shortage across major suppliers. He suggests that this shock would have a bullish impact on price, obviously, but he asks a rhetorical question that I want you to consider deeply. Will XRP still retrace further, as some suggest, if a use case is sustaining its price? This is the key difference between a hype pump and a utility pump. We need to distinguish between the two. In a hype pump, think of the meme coins, the dog coins, the cat coins. The price goes up because people are excited. It is driven by emotion. It is driven by FOMO. But once the excitement fades, the price crashes because there is nothing holding it up. There is no floor. In a utility pump driven by scarcity and actual usage, the price goes up because it has to. If you need XRP to settle a payment between Japan and Brazil, and there is no XRP available, you pay whatever the price is. You don't have a choice. You need the fuel to run the engine. This is what we call inelastic demand. The demand doesn't care about the price. The demand needs the utility. If the supply is truly drying up, we might be entering a phase where the price discovery becomes vertical. I know. We have heard XRP to $589 for years. We have heard the moon math. I am not giving you a price prediction like that. I am not here to sell you hopium. I am looking at the mechanics of the market. If OTC desks dry up, they have to buy from exchanges. If exchanges dry up, the order book thins out. If the order book thins out, a small amount of buying pressure moves the price a large amount. It is basic physics. It is supply and demand in its purest form. And there is one more layer to this, the community sentiment. I have been lurking in the forums and the chats, trying to gauge how real people are feeling. Are they selling? Are they buying? Are they tired? We have actually been discussing this live in my free Discord. It is an amazing group of people. We have chartists, researchers, and just regular holders sharing what they are seeing. When this news broke about the 1 billion withdrawal, the Discord lit up. It was chaos in there, but good chaos. We were analyzing the transaction hashes, tracking the destination wallets, trying to figure out if it was a specific exchange or a specific fund. We were crowdsourcing the investigation. Now, if you want to be part of that conversation, instead of just watching videos about it later, come join us. It is completely free. The link is down below. It is a great place to stay sane when the market starts getting crazy. It is a place to find your tribe. So where does this leave us? What is the conclusion of this investigation? I think we are standing on the edge of a shift, a structural shift. For a long time, XRP was suppressed. We had the lawsuit hanging over our heads like a dark cloud. We had the FUD, we had exchanges delisting it. We had the SEC chasing us. But now, the lawsuit is over. The legal clarity is established. The ETFs are here and they are buying. The institutional demand is verifiable on-chain. And the supply? It is vanishing. It is leaving the building. The depletion of exchange reserves is the final piece of the puzzle. It is the signal that the smart money is done accumulating. They have filled their bags. They are leaving the store. They are turning off the lights on their way out. And when the store is empty, the price tag changes. We are seeing a divergence that we haven't seen all year. The price is holding, but the foundation of available coins is crumbling away. 𝗗𝗀𝘀𝗰𝗱, the co-founder of EZA, mentioned that DeFi is also going to tap into this scarcity. As more XRP gets locked up in decentralized finance protocols, in lending pools, in liquidity pools, that is even more supply taken off the market. It is a perfect storm. It is a convergence of factors that we may never see again. I started this investigation looking for a glitch. I thought the data was wrong. I thought there is no way 1 billion XRP just left. I was ready to debunk it, but it did leave. It is gone. And if that doesn't wake you up to the potential of what is coming, I don't know what will. We spend so much time looking at the 15-minute chart, worrying about a 2% drop or a 3% gain. We get caught up in the noise of the daily grind. We stress over red candles that mean nothing in the grand scheme of things. But the real story, the wealth-generating story, is always in the macro data. It is in the flow of funds. It is in the movement of the continents, not the waves on the surface. The flow is undeniably outbound. The exits are crowded with whales carrying heavy bags of XRP to their private vaults. They know something. They are preparing for something. They are positioning themselves for a future where XRP is not just a speculative asset, but a scarce resource that runs the global financial system. The question is, are you prepared to? The data suggests the supply shock isn't a theory anymore. It is a mathematical inevitability that is playing out day by day, block by block. I will keep watching the wallets. I will keep tracking the reserves. If that number drops below 1 billion, we are going to see fireworks that will make the 2017 run look like a warm-up. I will be here, watching the data and bringing it to you. Would you like me to write the next script focusing on the specific OTC desk mechanics and how they interact with the new ETF flows? Because that is a rabbit hole that goes even deeper. Make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss the update when I find the next clue. See you in the next one.